بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين
Habib Umar said,
صلى الله وسلم على المجتبى المصطفى الأمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله
blessings and
وصحبه
peace upon
أجمعين.
our Master Muhammad the Chosen, and as well as
وبعد
folk and companions one and all.
انقضاء شهر
Habib
رمضان
Umar said,
المبارك
after the end of
والأيام
the month
المتصلة
of the blessed month of
بأيام
Ramadan
العيد
and
من
those days
أول
that
شهر
connect to the day
شوال
of Eid from the first of the days of
نعود
Shawwal,
إلى مواصلة
we are continuing
درسنا في التزكية
with our lesson
بعد
in
أن
purification, tazkiyah, after
كتاب
having
الكبريت
completed,
الأحمر
after
سيدنا الإمام
we
العيدروس
completed the book, the blessed book, Red Sulphur by our Master, the Imam al-Aidarus.
عددا
Let
من
us take
الوصايا
a number of counsels that were preserved from Imam Abdullah bin Alawi bin Muhammad al-Haddad.
عليه رضوان الله
May
تبارك
Allah's
وتعالى
good pleasure be upon him, blessed and exalted is He.
أوصى به
Those counsels that He gave to some of those of spiritual aspiration seeking and turning to Allah, who sought counsel from Him.
تجدد طبع كتابه
And
الوصايا
his
النافعة
book, Beneficial Counsels, الوصايا النافعة, has recently been reprinted. So we are teaching these counsels, asking our Master to make Allah, our Lord, to make us firm among those who perform good deeds, believe, and give counsel with truth and patience. So we will read the first counsel from this compilation of advice. This compilation of advice in this day of ours, in this lesson of ours. So we say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Transcendent are you, we have no knowledge except that which you have told us. Verily you are Al-Alim Al-Hakim, the knowing, the wise. Praise is for Allah, Lord of humanity, the one who generally invited His servants to make invitation and give advice. And He mentioned specifically that some of them had guidance and mercy, and attributed that to His pre-eternal will. And Allah said, we have previously counseled those who gave the book and you that you have taqwa of Allah. And Allah said, Allah invites to the abode of peace, and He guides those whom He wills to a straight path. And He said, He gives specifically or elects with His mercy those whom He wills, and Allah is of magnificent beneficence. This is the beginning of a treatise that consists of an advice that Imam al-Haddad sent to that seeker who sought from him a wasiyah, a general counsel in the religion. He sent it, or he began it with the saying of the angels in the divine revelation. When Allah asked them in Surah Baqarah about the divine names, they said, Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma alamtana. Transcendent are you, we have no knowledge except that which you have taught us. In this is an indication to the foundation upon which the spiritual path is based, and that is declaring Allah's holiness, sanctity, and transcendence. He is the divine, the real, al-haq. And also this foundation consists of acknowledging one's own ignorance and a lack of knowing save that which He teaches us and that which He makes us know. God makes us know, Jalla Jalaluhu, and that all knowledge in reality is His, and all wisdom is His. So He is Al-Alim Al-Hakim, the knowing, the wise. Transcendent are you, meaning that we declare your sanctity and glory above everything that is not becoming of your beneficence. You are Allah, who is characterized by all perfection belonging to you. Nothing is similar to you or like you. We have no knowledge. We cannot know anything except that which you have taught us. As Allah said, Jalla Jalaluhu, and no one, they do not encompass any of His knowledge except what He wills, or as He wills, and that is in Ayatul Kursi. Verily you are Al-Alim, the all-knowing, the one who has encompassed everything in His knowledge, Al-Hakim, the wise, the one
قال الحمد لله رب البرية والبرية هم الخلق.
Excuse me, there was a pause on his He said then
رب البرية
the Lord, he mentioned that he was the Lord of humanity, meaning the one who rears them, nurtures them, the one who originated them, the one who brought them into existence, their owner.
يقول الذي عم عباده أي جميع
He
المكلفين
said the one who generally gave to all of his servants, meaning all of those who are morally responsible, he gave them an invitation and gave them counsel. So he counseled and invited all of those who are morally responsible. So his invitation encompassed everyone of sound intellect, and his divine counsel encompassed everyone who had comprehension from those who were morally responsible, al-mukallafin. However, after that, he specifically gave guidance and mercy to, or selected for guidance and mercy, some of those who were invited and those who were counseled. And he said, and he elected or selected some of them with his guidance and mercy, and attributed this to his pre-eternal will. Meaning that the response of those who respond to the divine invitation is based on his divine will, which is eternal. And similarly, the turning away of those who turn away and those who disobey is based on his eternal will. Praise is for Allah, the Lord of humanity, who generally gave a counsel and invitation. He gave it generally to all of those who are more responsible, and he gave more specifically some of them guidance and mercy. May Allah make us of those who are selected to receive his guidance and mercy. Then the author mentioned 3 verses, a verse of this divine counsel that Allah gave to all of those who are more responsible, and he said, and verily we have counseled those who are given the book prior to you, and you that you have taqwa, meaning
على أيدي الرسل السابقين قبلكم وإياكم وأوصيناكم أيضا أنتم.
This means the groups that were given the book prior to you and you, and then that counsel in Surah Nisa 131, that you all have taqwa. That you all have taqwa, that you have awareness of Allah. So God-fearingness, taqwa, awareness of Allah is the advice of Allah from all of the first people, for all of the first people and the last people. Again, that's Surah Nisa verse 131. And Allah Ta'ala said, Allah summons to the abode of peace. He calls all of those who are more responsible from His servants to the abode of salam, to paradise, through obeying His commands and avoiding what He prohibits. However, He guides those who He wills to the straight path. Oh Allah, guide us among those who You guide. That's Surah Yunus verse 25. And He mentioned explicitly this divine selection in the 3rd verse in His saying, He selects with His mercy those whom He wills. So those who are guided to the straight path, that's specific to mercy. And he indicated that, so he indicated that some of them receive guidance and some of them receive mercy specifically. And that's in the 2nd and 3rd verse. And the 3rd verse is Al Imran, verse 74. Allah gives specifically His mercy to those whom He wills, and Allah is the one of magnificent beneficence. And He attributed that to His will by saying that He selects with His mercy those who He wills. That's talking about His eternal will. So then after praising Allah, he mentioned secondly salat, blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad, and he said, may Allah send salat and salam upon our master, our Sayyid Muhammad, for verily he, blessings and peace be upon him, he is the greatest means in attaining knowledge and spiritual knowledge of that which Allah summoned us to and counseled us with. And He And he is the greatest thing that we have been counseled with, to seek to receive guidance and mercy from Allah. So Allah said, we did not send you except as a mercy to all of the worlds. So he himself, the Prophet ﷺ, is a cause of mercy and a key to it and its door. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, verily you guide to a straight path, the path of Allah, the one who is the Lord of the heavens and the earth. So the Prophet is the strongest cause of guidance and receiving it from Allah, who guides to his light those who he wills and guides those whom he wills to a straight path, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So sending salat upon him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that is from the strongest of means in attaining this selection from Allah to receive mercy and guidance. And he mentioned in a sound tradition from the Prophet ﷺ, he said, if someone sends salat upon me one time, Allah through this sends blessings upon him 10 times, or due to this 10 times, or with this 10 times, blessings and peace be upon our Prophet. And he mentioned him in a way of magnifying him and praising him, and the one who magnifies the symbols of Allah, verily that is from the taqwa of the hearts, and the Prophet ﷺ is from the greatest of divine symbols. So he said, Sayyidina wa Mawlana, our Sayyid and our Master. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him a Sayyid, eminent over all creatures and existent things. So he is the Sayyid, the foremost of the children of Adam, and he is the Sayyid of all beings. And he said, I am the most dear of the first and the last to Allah on the day of rising, and that is not boasting, or the most honored by Allah. And that is not boasting. And we cannot have faith, and it is not sound, I cannot show allegiance to Allah until we do so to Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah Ta'ala said, verily your wali, your ally, or your patron is only Allah and His Messenger, and those who believe, and those who establish prayer and give zakat, and they are bowing. And Allah said, and if someone takes Allah and His Messenger and the believers as allies, verily the party of Allah are the foremost. And for this reason, he said, Mawlana, and Mawlana I translate as master, but you could say the one to whom we show allegiance, the one who we have wilayah to, and that is the first one that we should show this wilayah to of creatures, that is our Master Muhammad, and he is the foremost of creatures, as well as upon his folk and his companions who are the protectors of the straight religion, indicating that Allah based the protection of this straight religion, this upright religion with which the Prophet was sent upon the folk and the companions, and that is Islam, Iman and Ihsan, and ascending to that elect guidance and that elect and nearness to Allah and sublimity. Allah based the protection of that deen, and it's being guarded, and it's being established among His community, among the Ummah. Allah based these things upon, or connected these things to His folk and His noble companions. May Allah's good pleasure be upon all of them, as well as His vicegerents after Him. Or he said the vicegerents and the prophetic household are continuing and connected to the Quran, and his companions, among them are stars. Upon them from the Prophet poured knowledge. Each of them has a specific amount of knowledge, outward or inward or in his state. So through the folk and the great companions, the religion of Islam was preserved and guarded and spread among humanity, and Allah kept it strong and clear and protected and aided through the passage of the nights and the days. And for this reason, he sent blessings upon the Al, when he sent blessings upon the Prophet, and that's narrated in the prophetic tradition, and he attached to that sending blessings upon the companions because of the station they should have with every believer, that every believer should magnify them, and that every believer should rush to sending blessings upon the companions when he sends blessings upon the folk the Al and the Prophet ﷺ, due to these distinctions of aiding the deen that the companions had during the life of al-Mustafa and after his death, and they are fulfilling Allah's command. After the Creator praised him in his book on the tongue of the foremost of those whom he loved. May Allah's good pleasure be upon the prophetic companions. And he indicated the high station of the early companions of the Muhajirin and the Ansar, as-Sabiqun, and that no one reaches their degree who believed after them. However, he generally praised those who were predecessors and those who followed. He said, those who spent prior to the opening of Mecca and fought are not equal to those who believed and spent after, and all of them, meaning those that believed before the Fath and those that believed after the conquest of Mecca, all of them Allah has promised good. So he mentioned explicitly his promise of all of them that they receive paradise, which we translate as good, al-Husna, and verily he is the most generous of the generous. So the author goes on to say, and to proceed, blessings upon you and mercy and Allah's peace, O you who are you lover, who is a seeker, and who is a true student and seeker of the divine, and every religion in the brother in the religion who loves for the sake of Allah, in the east of the world and the west, and upon the earth and the sea, and the mountains and the valleys. So this salam comprises all of us. This is salam of someone who's comprehending, who bore the trust from the foremost of humanity that was given by the Lord of humanity. So when Imam Haddad gave salams to the one who was the cause of this council that he authored, and he caused him a lover who desired to benefit and was a seeker and a true student, and he said, and every brother in the religion. And this is how the learned man and the knower of Allah, he encompasses all of the ummah and all of the people of this religion in accordance to his purity and his certitude, and in accordance to his strength. And he said, so he gave salam to every brother in the deen who conformed to the spiritual path, and he did not deliberately leave the straight path. So he said, every brother in the religion that conforms, meaning conforms to the spiritual path, and everyone who loves for the sake of Allah, the Lord of the worlds, in the east and the west. May Allah make us of those who are true in His love, those who love Allah and His Messenger and the believers, the general and the elect in specific. And so he said, every seeker and brother and lover in the east and the west. And this is indicating the faith unity that comprises the east and the west and traverses the barriers of various regions and towns and lands and continents. So he gives salams, or excuse me, all of the people of the east and the west are united by the saying of Tawheed, La ilaha illallah, and are united by the one religion, everyone who believed in Allah and His Messenger. And he said, and also its land and its sea, and its valleys and mountains, and all places on the earth. So he's mentioning all the things, affirming, removing all barriers, or any divisions of the earth or places or nations. Allah is Lord of all of these things, and verily Muhammad was sent from the Lord to them all. So it's becoming that the one who bears the trust after our Master Muhammad should be aware of this vastness and should have vast horizons of encompassing and connecting to everyone on the surface of the earth from all of the believers. And he reminds us, gives us this reminder in his dua, Imam Haddad does in some of his poetry. So, oh my Lord, make me firm on truth and guidance, and oh my Lord, make me die on the best religion, and encompass with this all of our ancestors and offspring, encompass all ancestors and offspring with mercy, as well as folk and companions and all relatives and all of the people of the religion, from every Muslim who established your oneness without doubt, of those of the past and the present and the future. This great unity upon which unity is based in this monotheism of ours. How very wondrous is the thinking of the people of this knowledge of the divine oneness, and how very light is it. And he said, "Oh, you lover, you asked me to write for you a counsel that you could be comforted by and cling to its cable, hold on to its rope. And I have responded to this your request, even if I am not deserving of this request." And in that is a clarification of reality connected to the matter of teaching and giving benefit to the creation and inviting to the Creator and leading to guidance and disseminating the conveyance of Al-Mustafa ﷺ, is that the conveyor and the teacher and the inviter should be wary of believing in his own deservingness, the deservingness of his ego, or believing that he should be raised among others, or that he's more deserving of meritorious treatment to those than those he invites. And this is humbling himself and surrendering to Allah. So some of the people of inviting to Allah, they said, "What did you do?" He said, "I said to my small masters, your great master says this." He said, "So I convey the news of my great master to my smaller masters," indicating that those who he was conveying to were of a higher station than him. They were his master. However, he was conveying this to his small masters by the command of his great master, and conveying his counsels and conveying his path to which he's invited us. Even if I am not deserving of this, or am not do not have the aptitude for this counsel and leading to that through which salvation and triumph, the great triumph occurs, even if I am not of an aptitude for that. And verily, you in seeking this counsel and me in responding to this request, we have an example, a good example of our rightly guided predecessors and those who followed them. May Allah be well pleased with them. So let us, he said, so we'll return to affairs that, he said, we've indicated what a teacher and inviter should have in his heart, of humility and believing his lack of an aptitude and deficiency. And we should also know that this affair should be attributed to the chain of transmission, and that it is based upon the foundation of that chain of transmission to the best of humanity, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in our following him and our being guided by him. So Imam al-Haddad said, you in your seeking this matter, I mean, you're seeking this advice, and me in responding to that, we have a good example. We have a good example of our rightly guided predecessors and those who followed, who came later, who followed those who were earlier. He said, meaning, so the Salaf, the early generations, and then those who followed them and emulated them. He said, so in this, he's indicating that we seek guidance, and we emulate and we follow and we do not innovate. So we don't enter our own false inclinations or the things which we view favorably, or those things that the ego is attached to. And we are not arbitrary in our understanding of the sacred laws. And also, we don't take the arbitrary understanding of our the desires of our egos, our nufus, or the false inclination, their false inclinations are hawa. So we are following guidance and we are emulating, and this is connected through a chain of transmission to the most chosen of Allah's creatures and the seal of His prophets. Those are the ones who Allah guided, so follow their guidance. And if anyone wasn't going to follow those who preceded him due to his honor and his nobility, that would be the foremost of messengers. And how would this be the case when Allah said to him that you must follow the path of Abraham Hanifa, that it was inclining to the truth? And so he, the Prophet ﷺ, he followed the guidance and emulated the prophets and messengers, and he was the foremost of them. So in the affairs of the deen, you cannot descend from the highest level following the thinking of anyone or the intellect of anyone, but rather the thinking and intellects must be enlightened by the revelation and that which Allah conveyed from, the Messenger conveyed from Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then verily he's indicating in this phrase that seeking counsel and responding to that request for counsel is a fundamental through which the religion is preserved, and through which the connection to Allah is strengthened, and through which acting according to Allah's sacred law is revived. There's a tajdeed, there's a revival. So he affirmed that this was from the practice of the predecessors, that those followers emulated them in. The Salaf were emulated by the Khalaf in these things. And in the convention of, if we use the word Salaf in the convention of the scholars of this Ummah, we mean the early ages, the early centuries. However, you can use the word Salaf for someone that was even before you by one day. However, the convention was used among this Ummah. That was the first three generations, the companions, their followers, and the followers of the followers. Sahaba, what tabi'un, what tabi'un. And that's indicated in the saying of the Prophet, the best generation is my generation, then those who follow them, and then those who follow them. Or they mean by the predecessors the first 3 centuries. And the Khalaf, those who came later were meant by after that. And then sometimes they use the word Salaf too, predecessors, to mean someone who came prior to the time in which the speaker was speaking. However, the general convention among the scholars is that the word Salaf, predecessors, or pious predecessors, indicates the first 3 generations or centuries. May Allah be well pleased with them.
والأمر فيهم كما يقول عليه رضوان الله فلقد كان الاستيصاء والإيصاء من
And the author went on to say, so seeking counsel and giving counsel was from their conduct and their character, meaning that they were very avid to protect this deen and were magnifying of this deen. So for this reason they sought counsel, or those who were turning to Allah and seeking Allah and had a true desire, and those who were traveling to Allah, they sought counsel, and there was tarbiyah from those who had reached Allah. They gave them counsel. So all of them entered the sphere of the saying of Allah in Surah Al-Asr, those who gave counsel with truth and patience, and those who gave counsel with patience and mercy in Surah Balad and Surah Al-Asr. And Allah described them as doing this in His praiseworthy book, which no falsehood approaches from before of it nor beyond it. And that is a revelation from a wise, praiseworthy God. And he said you'll find this clear in the 2 surahs, the 2 chapters of the Quran, Al-Balad and Surah Al-Asr. In Surah Al-Balad, Allah said, then he would be from those who believed and gave counsel with patience and counsel with mercy. Those are the people of the right hand. And in Surah Al-Asr, about which Imam Al-Shafi'i, Allah be well pleased with him, said, where are people from, or with respect to Surah Al-Asr, if they pondered on it, it would suffice them. Allah says therein, exalted be He, I swear by time, or I swear by Allah, so verily the human being is in loss, except those who believe and do good works and give counsel with truth and counsel with patience. And He said, and seek Allah to guide you, and seek His aid, and He will guide you, and He will aid you. Allah taught us to say, from you we seek, you alone we seek, you alone we worship, and you alone we seek guidance. And the Prophet ﷺ said, all of you are, in a hadith Qudsi, all of you are misguided except those who I guide, so seek guidance from me and I will guide you. So if we seek guidance and aid in fulfilling Allah's command, or fulfilling the right of Allah's Lordship, we will be guided and aided. And he said, Habib said, you will transfer from one state to another state, and you will change from disobedience to obedience. وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ الْعَلِيِّ الْعَظِيمِ. All meanings of hawl, power or change, and all meanings of strength, or you could say movement and stillness, are through Allah al-Ali al-Azim, the high, the great. And then he begins his counsels. However, this introduction is enough in this first lesson, and let us ponder and let us act, and hopefully the brothers are able also to place this counsel by counsel, on the website, inshallah, in the form of PDFs, so that it can be read prior to the lesson and after the lesson. May Allah make us of those who mutually give counsel with patience and truth and with mercy, and may Allah make us of those who follow and the guidance and emulate emulate the foremost of the messengers, as well as those of Adam. And there's a brother from Canada. He said, I try to read dhikrs from the khulasa, persistence in a day. Sometimes I write them and other than time. Can these be made up prior to their time or after their time? He said, yes, someone who is busy or engaged in something that they can do some words prior to the time or some after them. And also, anytime he does it, that will coincide with some time somewhere in the world, with the time in which he reads it will be some other time in another place in the world. So if he reads it, for instance, at the morning or the late afternoon, it will be night or morning in another place in the world. So whenever he reads it, it will be on time somewhere in the world, essentially. He said, so he should place his words in their time based on the place where he is. However, if he's not able to, he can do them other times. He should persist in these words and endeavor to have presence, and that is a foundation of benefiting. Imam Haddad says, doing regular devotions, words, without presence do not benefit, and without persistence do not have an effect. So a person should strive, be avid to persist, and if some of his words or dhikrs are put before or after their time, that is also a manifestation of persistence and concern and magnification, and that will cause many benefits. And he said, and sometime I'm very busy, and I read them fast, for instance, or I read them standing or walking. And he said, and without presence, he said, is it better for me to read a small portion of the words with presence and leave the others? And he said, yes, reading a small amount with seeking khushu', seeking to be submissive and present in that, is better than reading a lot without presence and without submissiveness. And this is mentioned as well in the speech of Imam Haddad. He said that rushing in one's words removes their light. So similarly, it is one should recite these words with a portion of some amount of calmness. They said, though you can rush, you can read more quickly sometimes without removing your presence of heart, without ruining your presence of heart. He said, however, if you have to read so fast that you don't have presence of heart, no. He said that a small amount with presence is better than a lot of invocations without presence. He said, so when one is extremely busy, one can read less invocations with presence.
And
there's a brother from Jordan. He said, may Allah reward you with good for these lessons that you are giving us, these blessed benefits. He said, and I fear that these lessons are a proof against me, because they have great benefit, and I don't act upon them much. So sometimes I think that I should stop attending these lessons. So Habib Umar said you should continue to listen and attend these lessons, and along with that you should have an intention to try to stand up and act upon them to the extent that you're able, and act even with a little bit of lessons. And you're seeing yourself as incapable and deficient. That is a manifestation of acting upon the knowledge. He said, so however, along with this view, we should be striving to have a resolve and act upon some of what we learn, and that we fulfill some of these obligations and these courtesies. So he said, so while persisting in receiving and taking these lessons, and our reading beneficial books, and our seeking an increase in knowledge, and our not stopping this due to the excuse that we don't act upon what we know, in addition to this, while we're continuing, we should continue to teach those who do not know. And we shouldn't make a proof that we don't act so that we don't teach. He said, with this persistence, we should also force ourselves, force our egos, force our nafs to act even with a little bit of what we learned. The author of Zuhud said, so act upon even a tenth of knowledge. You'll bring out the light of knowledge just like you do in zakat. So someone should not be satisfied to leave action and to neglect. He said, however, someone who reproaches himself and rebukes himself, then the threat about knowledge or teaching being a proof against him, it does not occur to the person who is taking themselves to account for not acting. But rather, knowledge is a proof against those who are satisfied with their neglect of action. And there's another brother named Luqman from Britannia. He said, I live and work in Britannia, and I'm surrounded by non-Muslims. Most of the people are non-Muslims. So how do I protect my purity and the cleanness of my heart? And he said, you do this by vision that Allah is a changer of hearts, and that Allah could make you a disbeliever just like those who are around you. Allah bestowed favored you with this faith, and you're acting according to the dictates of your faith, by concern for them and fearing for them that they would die in disbelief and eternally dwell in the fire. And we seek refuge in Allah Ta'ala. And you're acting, you're working in a way that is trustworthy, and that you're cautious about your religion, and also you do dhikr while you're surrounded by the disbelievers. You will have the reward of the remember of Allah who is surrounded by those who are heedless, is like the living among the dead, or like a green plant among dry plants. And also you should bear the trust of having concern for them, and trying to look for opportunities to clarify the message to any one of them that you can, or to guide them,
نقل إلى الهدى
or to try to
مع ما
bring them to
يلزمك
guidance.
من الأمانة والمحافظة
And then
على
also
القيم
you be
وأنت ولو كنت في
trustworthy
ذلك المحيط
in your occupation, and also
بأمر
preserve
هذا الدين
your
وشعائره ولو
values,
كنت في ذلك
even if you're
المحيط
surrounded by
يرمك بمثل هذا
disbelievers. Your doing
سبب
things
من
like this
أسباب
is a cause
أن
of
يبقى في قلبك الصفاء
your heart still having
ويثبت
purity,
قدمك على
and your
الوفاء
feet being firm in
وأنت
fulfillment
تعامل
of your
عالم السر وأخفى
covenant,
جل جلاله
and that you are worshipping well the knower of the
ومن
seen and the
مقتضاه
unseen. And from the
عدم
dictates
رضا
of worship of Allah is that you are not being satisfied
ما
to
يخالف الشرع من
be
أقوال
persistent in things
أو
that
من
go against the
عادات
sacred
أو
law,
من أفعال
from the actions or
تكون
sayings
بعيدا
or
عن أن
customs
تعمل
of the
شيئا مخالفا
disbelievers.
للشريعة
You should
لا تسترسل
avoid
مع
doing
مستهزئ
anything
بالدين
that
ولا
is
آمر
against the sacred law. You should not go
مخالفة
along with anyone who makes fun of the religion or who is going against the sacred law of your Lord,
ما ذكرنا سابقا
along with
من
those things that we
واجب
mentioned
الشفقة
of the
عليهم
obligation of having concern for them and looking for opportunities to counsel them, and your wanting to save them by the permission of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala.
كذلك الآخرون من بريطانيا وكيف السبيل لحسن الحضور مع الله تعالى.
And there was a brother named Ronak from Britannia. He said, what is the way to have good presence with Allah Ta'ala continuously? He said, by remembering Him abundantly and reflecting upon His magnificence and His surrounding you and His awareness of you or vision of you. He said, and also your calling to mind your following of the Prophet ﷺ in eating, drinking, sleeping, clothing, walking, and all of the affairs of your life, even regular customary things, cultural things, much less acts of worship. And also, He is the one we follow in talking to non-Muslims and Muslims. He is the one who we follow in sitting with non-Muslims and Muslims. He is our example in walking in the streets. He is our example in the clothing we wear. He is our example in all the things through which, how we deal with those who are near to us or far from us. He is our example. So calling this to mind is a means to attain presence with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And someone named Samir in Britannia, he said, is there dhikr that increases one's himma in worship and service? He said, any dhikr with sincerity and presence increases a person in aspiration and himma, increases him in nearness, increases him in light. And what the knowers of Allah said, saying the verse, Hu Allahu la ilaha illa huwa alimul ghayb wa shahadahu ar-Rahmanur Rahim, saying that verse 100 times a day saying that verse 100 times a day is a cause of raising one's resolve and aspiration and worship of Allah. Someone from Australia said, she said, I haven't cried for a long time, even in dua. He said, you have to have a regret for not crying out of awe of Allah or yearning for Allah. He said, this regret is the first step, and if it is true and strong, other footsteps follow, and that's trying to make yourself cry. And then this is followed by the steps of pondering the sayings of Allah and His Messenger and the states of those who had fear of Allah and their accounts and their virtues. All of these things, this is a cause through which Allah returns the softness of the heart and the submissiveness of the heart and submission of the heart to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. May Allah write for us and you tawfiq, and may Allah make us and you join the best group. May Allah bless for us in the beginning of these lessons and make it of benefit to the one who is speaking and the one who is listening and those who are hearing and the people in their homes and the people of the various villages and areas of the world. and all of those who are surrounding all of these people. And may Allah make us and you from those from whom good came to them from Allah. Indeed, He is the most generous of the generous and most merciful of the merciful. O Allah, write for us and them tawfiq, and make us and them on the straightest path, and make us join the best group. And make us, O our Master, from those who you give generously to be in the best company, and give us from your beneficence in that which is becoming of you. And make us all who are accepted in the past Ramadan, and bless for us and them this Eid, and make us a people of increase, and make us, these are the best nights upon us and them and all of the people of this religion in the east and the west. O you who responds to the dua of the one who makes dua, and who responds to the desire of the one who has desire, by the secret of the Fatiha donated to the presence of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Fatiha.
After
the dua, Habib Umar said, one brother from America, he said, should I marry in order to protect myself from sin, or should I strive against myself and seek knowledge? And Habib Umar said that the best thing is what protects you from disobeying Allah. Ta'ala, he said, if your striving and seeking knowledge is sufficient protection, you don't fall during this into continuing in a forbidden gaze or forbidden thinking, then that's okay. He said, otherwise, protecting yourself from this evil by marrying is better for you, even if it affects your attaining knowledge somewhat. He said, however, if you have a true intention and marry for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, what's hoped is that this marriage of yours would be an aid in strength in attaining knowledge, not a cause of the opposite. And also, a questioner asks, we women, how can we attain the reward from the deeds that men do, good deeds, and serving the da'wah? And Habib Umar said, from what the Messenger of Allah advised in being a good wife to one's husband, being a good wife to one's husband, following one's husband well, and caring for the family well, establishing an environment in which the family has tranquility and love. So you would be fulfilling Allah's command on the surface of the earth, and that is a cause of an increase of those who are performing good deeds, of the people of this family and those connected to this family. And also you're having a sincere, true intention also, and you're participating in those things that you can participate in. All of those are causes through which there is reward for a woman will receive reward for the works, like the works of the men.